This may not be something that you can actually do. So I want you just to hang with me here because I want us to really talk about this and go through this. So let's see. I've got all my stuff going, making sure that we're. Oh, yes, I saved it in a PDF file tonight, so it looks a little odd. So if this is something that you have been struggling with, if you have been struggling with co-parenting with somebody that is very difficult to co-parent with, and you want some direction on this, then just drop a one into the comments because I would love to see how many of you are really dealing with this. Assuming that if you're here, you are, but it's good to ask because maybe you've got some tips that you've been doing that are working really, really well and you would like to share them, but maybe you don't and you're needing the help. So, the name of this class is Raising Kids with a Narcissistic Ex Without Losing Your Sanity or Your Kids' Trust. And so that has always been the big thing for me is that I want my kids to heal along with me because I know that they've had the traumas from this. They've had the betrayals of the relationships, and so they need a healing space also. Plus, I know that for me, that as I was healing, I was a pretty much hot mess. And so my kids saw a lot of things that were just me working through healing. They were not beautiful. They were awful. And my poor kids had to, live through that because I was still trying to find my way too. And so they're dealing with their mother, trying to heal and trying to figure out what happened to her. And then they've got their father who is just trying to destroy on the other side. So if that's you, then you are in the right place. So let me see how I make this go forward. Here we go. We're just going to roll it up. There we go. So when you have a narcissistic ex, your co-parenting is very challenging and difficult. They will manipulate, and they will lie to the children to hurt you. And the children have a skewed perspective on relationships. And you do too, because you don't know what a healthy relationship is either, because you've been living in this narcissistic relationship. So if you're here and you're wondering if this webinar is for you, then let's go through the checklist and let's see, is this you? You have children with a narcissistic ex. You are feeling like you aren't sure how to make the co-parenting thing work. You are wanting direction on how to raise your kids in a way that helps them to see and be strong against the abuse. If you're looking for ways to get past the pain from a narcissistic relationship, this webinar is for you. Okay, so what are you going to get from this webinar? You're going to get resources and perspective. As the parent, you'll get additional resources and perspective to ensure that your kids are okay and to help you to start healing and to start creating this parallel parenting that I have been talking about. You're going to get tools for your children. You're going to be able to equip your children with tools to see what the narcissistic parent is doing without ever actually like attacking the narcissistic parent about it. This is going to help them to be able to process through what is happening for them and how to just look at the behavior instead of at the person. And then we look a little bit at generational healing also. And one of the things that I did not put on here, which should be on here, is the parallel parenting, that we're going to talk about that. And I'm going to give you steps on how to put that into practice, how to implement that. So, hi, I'm Michelle Spexarth, and I grew up in a narcissistic, abusive family with generational abuse. And then I continued on that path into adulthood until I was 45. Um, this included alcoholism, physical abuse, emotional abuse. It led me down a road of making poor decisions, all the way up, like I said, until I was 45. I didn't understand about abuse because it was normal for me. But I knew in my heart something just didn't feel right. This couldn't be as good as life got because if it did, it really sucked. So you may be feeling that too. Once I figured out that the way I had grown up and the way I had dealt with relationships was not normal, then I started working on myself. I started reading and learning and doing the work to make the changes so that I could heal. My journey to breaking the cycle. This is a picture of my family. I wish that TikTok world I could show it to you also. I have 5 children, and I'll talk about that here in a second. So, 7 years ago, I made a choice to stop the abuse cycle in my life, and I started researching the behaviors that had happened in my family's life and in mine. I started looking at my behaviors and what was drawing me to these kinds of people. I looked at the way I was brought up, I looked at the way my parents were brought up. I looked at just like the dynamics that were in our family. And that was where I started on that. So I have 5 children. I have homeschooled all 5 of them, and I didn't want them to think that this was normal and that the way relationships were. I wanted them to have healthy relationships and be able to create those healthy relationships as adults. I've seen so many others going through this too, and that's why I created Heal You, Heal Your Kids coaching program. And that's where we work together to heal and move out of the wounded survivor place into the thriving, peaceful, looking forward to the future place, which my thought is that if you have left the narcissist, you had hope that it could be better. You had hope that things could work out better than if you stayed. And if I'm wrong, I'd love to hear about that one too. You can tell me that in the comments. So, why are you having this problem? Lack of a healthy model, like I talked about before. You may not even know how to raise kids in a healthy way. You may not even know how to be in a relationship in a healthy way. And then the narcissist's true agenda. The narcissist isn't interested in raising healthy kids. They are more interested in harming you through the kids. So that makes it very challenging to get past the problem is because you're watching your kids be hurt just so that they can get to you. And just watching this diabolical thing happen is very hard. And co-parenting challenges. You may not even know what that's supposed to look like, or you're dealing with somebody that continually lies, manipulates, and gaslights the situations. Every text that they send you could be filled with all of this hate that they're sending towards you with absolutely nothing that is there for you to factually hold on to. And we'll talk about that here in a second. Okay, so here's some things that you may have tried in the past. Hiding the narcissistic ex's behaviors from the kids. I did that. That was my big thing was I kept the kids protected from all of the behaviors that were not okay because I wanted my children to grow up in a happy, healthy environment, and that's what I thought I was doing for them. Um, so the other is brushing it off when your children come to you with something that's happened with the narcissistic ex. Maybe you don't even know how to deal with it. So what you've been doing is you're just like, oh, whatever, which actually sadly creates another kind of abuse, which is awful because it's like, oh, where does it end? So that creates a frustration. You may have gone into a trauma response, fight, flight, fawn, or freeze, or thrown the ex under the bus by talking bad about them. Those are things that you may have tried. They don't work because you haven't worked through the trauma in your life and you can't deal with it in a healthy manner. You don't know you don't know you're experiencing a trauma response. So you may go into that flight and get super busy or, whatever, and you may not even be realizing that you're doing that. I'm reading some of the stuff here. You've tried to hide it, but the kids can feel that there's something wrong. Kids are so stinking smart. They just know when something's not right. You're in a place of cognitive dissonance about what is really going on with your ex. So let me explain. Cognitive dissonance means basically confusion. There is something within your being that says that there is a right for you. And then what is happening is going against that. And that is creating a confusion within your body. So the truth about change is that you can't change your ex and the things that they do. However, you can change the way that you work through it, the way you respond to them, and you can create a safe and loving environment for your kids when they have to. The only person we get to control in our life is ourselves. I know, but that's the best news ever because what that means is that if we can only control ourselves, that's the truth for others also, that they cannot control us unless we give them permission. Sometimes that may feel like a big order and it can be challenging at first, but it can be done. Breaking the cycle now or beginning to will help you to excel and show your kids how they can excel too. So let's look at introducing parallel parenting, the peace bringer. Okay. So there's three things that I want to talk about within this parallel parenting because I want you to be able to grasp these three things really well. This is going to take you very, very far. These are going to make a huge difference in the way that you parent, in the way that you run your home, in the way that you run your life and the way you feel inside. So keep the first one is keep communication brief, factual, and child focused. The second is to create clear boundaries between homes. And the third is your consistency over their cooperation. And I'll explain that more here in just a bit. So keep communication brief, factual, and child focused. There are three things that will help reduce your stress and tension with this communication. So, first of all, communication over the phone, talking to them should not ever happen. I know that for me, communication verbally with the ex very, very rarely ever happens. That is very intentional because all kinds of feelings in the beginning would come up for me and that I would not handle the situation well because I was in a trauma response. So keep it to an email or a text or some kind of app. I've heard of apps out there for just this type of thing. Um, I don't use one of those myself, but it sounds like they are pretty fantastic. This is important because it gives you a chance to process and respond in your own time. And then you have documentation for proof in the future if you need it. And it creates some space for you to work through the emotions without the pressure of the verbal conversation. So for me, even when I would get a text or something, it would be just obliterated with all kinds of things. And in order for me to even actually be able to look at it and process through it, it took me a day or two before I could even bring myself down out of the trauma response to deal with the thing. And so it was necessary for me to be able to do that so that I could process well. So let's keep going on this one because we've got two more spots. Only respond to the facts with facts. So you may have heard of gray rock. You may have heard of soft gray rock. I had a client ask me, do you feel like gray rock is effective? Do you think that it is the answer? And I said, well, you can soft gray rock. Here's the thing that comes up is that when you don't gray rock, you're opening the door for them to think that it's okay for them to abuse you, that it's okay for them to talk to you however they want. And so you setting up that solid boundary of gray rock is very important. You take out all the emotions. So when you are communicating with them, there are zero emotions in there. Not, hey, how's your day? Or good morning, or any of that. That is emotion. And this is not the place for that. Keep things very businesslike in case you need to take it to a legal level. And the conversations should only be about the facts or the children. And when you look through a text or an email or anything like that, written communication, when you look at that, and you read through it, you may not even be able to find any facts in there. And if that's the case, you do not need to respond to it at all. They may have just need to be venting about all the things of whatever just because they need to get a rile out of you that day. And when you look through there and you find zero facts or anything about the children that needs to be addressed, you do not have to respond. I know a lot of people feel like they need to hold position or defend themselves or anything like that. And it's not true. You absolutely don't have to do that. So the third thing, even though it says the second thing, is block them from all social media. So by doing this, you can't see them, they can't see you. And you may say, well, I need to know what's going on so that I know what they're doing with the kids. No, no, you 100% do not need to know that. It's not going to serve you. So blocking them from all social media or places that they can see you without you knowing it is where you need to block them. If you're on TikTok, if you're on Instagram, if you're on LinkedIn, if you're on Facebook, wherever they are that they could get access to you, you need to block them. Some people even have them blocked from their phones so that they have to go through the app in order to have communication with them. And that's okay too. It's important because you may be tempted to see what they're up to too, which will drive you crazy. So think about that when you do block them, that what kind of things come up for you as far as I need to make sure that I don't want to go see what's going on with him because that is part of the trauma response. It's part of the trauma bond that you have with them. And so you need to think about that you may be having some of those feelings and it's not that they're bad, it's just that you need to make sure that you keep that in check. So also, so they can't see you and will minimize comments to the children or to you. Hold on just a second, please. Okay. I was checking for comments. Okay, so the next one is to create clear boundaries between the homes. So there's going to be three tips on this. The first one is to create routines and rules in your home that protect your time and your peace. And the first time I heard this, I was like, oh, this makes sense because we're not targeting the other home. We're not targeting the other family. We're making a rule that is a blanket rule of everything. So this may be having phones in baskets or no phones at the table or uninterrupted times for your family. It doesn't have to be a way to keep your kids from the other parent. It can just be your rule. So when you think about it, maybe they you guys have a rule of after 7 o'clock, no phone calls. And so if somebody calls after 7, then it's just the blanket rule of no phone calls after 7. That's just an example, but that's something that you could think about as one of the rules. But these rules are in place for your family, for your peace. Okay. It's okay to have your rules and them to have theirs. This one was a game changer for me. When I accepted that the other parent could do whatever they wanted on their time and there was nothing I could do about it, I realized I could do the same. This separation and establishing your own space may seem hard, but it is doable. And the kids are smart. They're smart enough that they can shift and they can follow the rules in the different places. And I thought about this too. Like if you are, let's say that you are a mom and dad and the kids' family. Um, these kids, they have the rules at home. And let's say they go to public school. There's a different set of rules at public school. They don't have a problem following two sets of rules. So it's it's okay for them to be able to learn. There's the set of rules at this house, and there's a set of rules at this house, and then they might have a set of rules at school. When they go to grandma or grandpa's house, they probably have a set of rules over there. They know the rules. They're smart. It's not just like only one set of rules for the rest of my life. They can follow these different ways. And then show yourself love and compassion, patience. For so long, there has been someone else creating self-doubt, confusion, and chaos. So realize that your entire system is haywire right now, and with love, it will settle down and feel safe again. Um, when you show yourself love, compassion, and patience, your respect for yourself is going to grow and you're going to tolerate less of these kinds of behaviors just because you know that you're not respecting yourself when you allow it to happen. And so that you create that boundary there for it. So remember, raising kids with a narcissistic ex is going to be a learning experience. You want to change and you want to make things better, but they don't. So let's look at this. Here's the last one. Your consistency over their cooperation. When you are consistent in your home, the children catch on. It creates such safety for them. They know what to expect and they look forward to the routine of life along with the rules it brings. When you continue to strive for the narcissist cooperation, life can stay in turmoil forever. This slows down the healing process for you and your children and leaves everyone on edge, except the narcissist. Okay, so let's look at 4 ways that you can help your children to heal and become strong and healthy humans. And I wanted to add this because I feel like if you're here, you obviously have children, and this is something that you're working to navigate. And I want you to have some tools where you can feel like you know how to help your children through this situation. So, first of all, you're going to be their safe space. Allow them to speak about whatever they need to talk about and only listen. This can be tough if you're like me and you want to interject all the time. However, when you sit and listen, letting them get it all out, it creates a place for them where they feel seen, heard, and important. Second is create an environment for discussion. Let them have their opinions. Let whatever they say be heard and okay. And ask questions. Get a fuller picture of the situation so that you understand more. And then include them in decisions. Let them be part of the decision making because when you can get them on board, they're more likely to follow through rather than just being talked at. And then use discussion tools. There are even fun game cards that can be used to create discussion opportunities. This allows everyone to get to know each other better and just to know your kids better and them to know you better too. Help them decipher experiences. It isn't an opportunity to belittle and talk bad about the other parent, but what it is an opportunity to ask how they felt about the situation. When they come home with the situation, remember you are their safe space. Even if you need to separate yourself a bit from the situation so you can be more neutral about it, that is okay. Okay, talk about what healthy relationships look like. A good way to address this is green flags, red flags. So when we talk about what is considered a green flag or a red flag, it helps solidify what that looks like for you and for them. And so green flags, showing respect, being consistently kind, talking things through with mutual respect, disagreeing and being okay with that, and being truthful. Red flags, lying, cheating, I put in school, being rude to others, manipulation, gaslighting, bullying, or showing disrespect and being quick to anger. As your children tell you about kids they have interactions with, you can talk about the behaviors and see what they think. Kids are Very interesting because if you just ask, well, do you think that that's the right way to treat somebody, or what do you see wrong about treating somebody like that? When you start asking these questions to get them to start exploring what's going on within them, it's fascinating to hear what they have to say, and sometimes it's really funny too. Okay. So here's a couple client testimonials. Working with Michelle has completely transformed how I handle co-parenting with my narcissistic ex. My children are happier, and I finally feel in control of my own emotions and responses. The tools Michelle provided helped me create a safe space for my kids while maintaining healthy boundaries with my ex. I wish I had found this program years ago. So the program they're talking about is the Heal You, Heal Your Kids program. When you sign up for one-to-one coaching with me, we work on four different areas of life. We work on stress, self-confidence, rebuilding your life, and supporting your children. I created this program where we work one-on-one, 1 hour every week to help you address these issues. We work through them and we move forward with your life in the way that you want. So you can bring issues or whatever that is really bothering you during that week during your session, and we will talk through it and we will work through it. And the amazing thing about every single one of the sessions is that sometimes you can even come in not even really knowing what you need to talk about, and that's like the best session that you have because it really starts you exploring things and opening up your mind to the things that you need to work on. And when we work on one area, it starts bleeding into other areas, which is a fantastic thing. So, in the stress management system, we learn to process emotions and reduce anxiety responses. We learn to be proactive in our life. We learn how to work through any situation in a life in a calm state. The emotional processing protocol has many tools to help you work on each stress area of your life. And then when you focus on these areas of your life, your kids can come alongside you. They can learn and they will see how to create healthy boundaries. Say no when it's the best answer for them and learn to regulate their bodies in their life situations. How awesome is it that let's just dream for a second here before we move on. Imagine that you have the tools that you need in order to be that calm presence and to regulate yourself in your life, and that you teach that to your children so that they can walk into pretty much any situation and they can be calm, cool, and collected. And it doesn't mean that they're always going to have the answers, or that we will either, or that we're not going to have times when things feel a little bit intense in our bodies, or that we're always going to show up in the most fantastic way. But what it does mean is that you get to show up more that way than you would if you hadn't done the practices to learn to regulate your body. So the other area is self-confidence. Learn to love yourself and know that you are worthy. Learn to trust yourself. Learn to show your kids how to have self-confidence too. And then when you teach and show your kids how to do this, you will have less behavioral issues with them and show them how to be more self-reliant because they know themselves so well. So on this piece, I want you to think about this. When you've taught your children about a way that you would like for them to behave, and they understand why behaving that way is so absolutely important, and they take it upon themselves to make sure that that behavior, they own that behavior, that it is their behavior, that they are going to act like that because they feel within themselves that that is the best way to be. And you don't have to be the one to really monitor that at all because they have internalized that for themselves. And then we talk about rebuilding your life, learning to set goals, how to have a safe place to work through the rebuilding process, get the support that you need to create a new life that you absolutely love, and helping your children to set goals and have plans for their lives will be so much fun because you can be a team with your own individual goals respecting each other's space and honoring one another for their individuality. And then become the example that you want to be for your kids. Learning to communicate more effectively and then taking that to your kids. Learning to support your kids in a healthy way. Learning to be your kids' safe place and teaching your children how to respect and honor themselves so that they don't rebel. And there was something else I was thinking about. I can't think of it right now. It was about your kids and about them basically just having enough of their own um, boundaries and rules and everything within themselves that they are self-monitoring. Okay. Here's another client win. I struggled to know how to talk with my kids after I left. I said way too much and I didn't listen as much as I needed. Now I know when to listen and be quiet and how to ask questions that help me build a stronger relationship with my kids. We're growing closer and it has been fun to learn a new way of working with my children. So I want you just to think about this. Imagine your future. Today, here you are, you're raising kids with a narcissistic ex, you're at this webinar, and you're looking for these answers. You are searching for the way to have that feeling of peace, to feel confident about yourself, to feel worthy, possibly, that was me, to just to be able to dream again also. And then think about 3 months from now, after starting to work with me, that you are gaining the tools, you're using the tools regularly, and you're noticing fewer intense reactions within yourself, and maybe you're having less um, interactions with your children that are negative or that are explosive or anything like that. And then 6 months, you're attending your children's events in a calm state. You feel strong and confident in situations that once overwhelmed you. You're modeling healthy emotional regulations for your children. I know that one of the clients, it's so funny because she's gone beyond the 6 months with me and she's like, she's got some things that are happening in her life. And so there's a lot of craziness. And she said, I know that I can feel the dysregulation from time to time, but because of the work that we've done, I know how to re-regulate myself, and I know how to deal with these things in a calm way, and I know how to show up for my kids because I have the tools now that I did not have before. And that just did my heart such good. So just think about this school year is your time to start reclaiming control of your home and life and help your children to feel secure and safe. So this is where we start out when, if you're considering like getting a coach, this would be the place to start. Is that what happens is we do a free consultation first. This is 1 hour that you get to, we walk through 4 areas where we measure them on a scale of 0 to 10. And then we talk about the future and we talk about what you want the future to look like for you. And we do it in all of these areas. And the reason I do that is because that way we have our goal set. We have where we want to go. And also at the end of those 6 months, it is the most fun thing to be able to say, this is where you started out. And this is where you said you wanted to go. And some people have completely surpassed where they wanted to go by leaps and bounds. And some they had, a lot of them that they did get done. And then there was some that there was still some work to be done. So watching that was just really amazing to see how we worked through all of those things. So you can do the QR code here, and that will take you to the booking page. And like I said, it's 1 hour of free. And when you do that, then you are going to get a special gift from me. It's called 5 Ways to Raise Non-Rebellious Kids, because I love that. And I think that when we empower ourselves, then we can help raise these amazing kids. Okay. Here's some of the frequently asked questions that come. How long does the program last? It's 6 months with weekly 1 hour sessions. You do not need to have children to participate. If you have been through trauma, if you have been through narcissistically abusive relationships, then this is for you. How quickly can you see results? Everybody's different. So it depends on how much you apply the tools, how much you are working on yourself, and where you started and where you want to go. I give weekly mantras because I think that giving you things to work on every week is really, really good. But if you don't do it, it's okay too. And is this therapy? Therapy usually works with past issues. We work on the focus of the future. It doesn't mean we don't deal with past issues or anything like that. It just means that we are aimed towards the future. So there we go. That is raising kids with a narcissistic ex. So thank you for coming. And if there are any questions, you can go ahead and ask them now. And then there's the QR code if you want to go ahead and book your call. So I just want to leave you with this. You are strong and teachable. You can change and move into a place of growing and healing with your kids. Feel free to ask questions now or drop them in the chat. If you'd like, if you can be more comfortable, you can reach out to my social media to ask me questions. I'm on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. So you can reach me on all of those. So thank you so much.